Alright, so the JAK-12 is a brand new DLC shotgun for the new Season 6 mid-season update. It's a free weapon. You can unlock it for free with a weapon challenge in multiplayer and Warzone, and today I'll show you how to complete this challenge to unlock it easily and quickly. So I'm going to show you some gameplay of this weapon in action, how good it is, and then we're going to quickly explain the challenge, how to go about doing it, give the best class setup and game modes for this, and then some quick tips to help you get the challenge done even faster. So make sure you're sticking around really until the end of the video so you don't miss out on any important tips and you get the most out of this guide. Also, I'm doing a COD Points Giveaway for the Season 6 Battle Pass, so if you're interested in that, go and check out the video in the description for how to level up tiers fast in Season 6. There'll also be rules in the description if you're interested in that, so go check that out if you want some free COD points. Okay, so the challenge, what does it actually say? Well, what you need to do is you need to get 3 hipfire kills using shotguns in 7 different matches. Now, obviously this sounds quite easy, but I'm going to show you how to make it even easier with this guide. So for anyone that doesn't know, I'm sure most people do, but for anyone that doesn't know, a hipfire kill is a kill on an enemy where you don't aim down sight, so you're just firing from the hip, you're not aiming down sight, you're not looking through a scope or an optic. And so because of this, obviously with this setup today that I'm going to suggest to you guys, you obviously don't need any attachments that help with aiming down sight or, you know, help with recoil, aim, that kind of stuff. We don't need any of that, so make sure you don't put on any perks or equipment that help with that kind of stuff because it's a waste. We're not aiming down sight, we're just firing from the hip. If you guys need more help with hipfire kills before this video, then feel free to check out my hipfire kills guide. I'll leave a card for that on screen and a link in the description. Okay, so like we said, the challenge is get 3 hipfire kills using shotguns in 7 different matches. Now, a quick note is that this needs to be completed in 7 different matches, but you can leave the match immediately after you get hipfire kill with a shotgun. Basically, in previous challenges, it seemed to be that certain challenges there'd be a penalty where if you leave the match early, then it would sort of undo that progress or it would make it more difficult for you to get the next ones, i.e. it wouldn't count some of the next ones. But with this one, you can leave the match as soon as you get the challenge progress done. So obviously what you need to do to check that the kill's counted, what you need to do is you need to go to the challenge progress bar in-game. So there's actually one in-game. What you do when you're in a match is go on the menu, click on edit next to your shotgun class, the one that I'm going to show you guys today. Click on the shotgun specifically as the primary weapon, go to the bottom of the shotgun list and there'll be the JAK-12, hover over that and that will show you how much progress you've made. Each time you get 3 hipfire kills in a match, it'll go at 1 point out of 7, and like I say, as soon as you get that points, you can back out of the match. So obviously you need to check what your progress was before the match started or in the last match so that you know what your progress should be after this. Check that the 3 kills you got counted, they always should do. If not, just go and get a few more hipfire kills until it does count and then leave the match. You don't need to stay the whole match unless you want more progress to level up your tiers faster, but I think if you're just focusing on the challenge, you can leave immediately after you get those 3 hipfire kills in a match. Now, sometimes people will say that their progress definitely should have updated, but it doesn't. And if this is the case, what might be happening is that sometimes the game just glitches where either the progress resets to 0 and it says you haven't got any, or it's just not updated. This is very rare now. I think they seem to have got on top of it, but if you think that might be the case, obviously just close the application, close the game and restart it up and it should have updated. Those are the main tips on how to go about the challenge, looking for it, how to check your progress. Now let's get into the class setup and then we're going to move on with the actual strategy and how to go about getting these kills. So let's do this then. So for the class setup, obviously in the primary, we're going to use a shotgun as we need to. That's one of the requirements of the challenge. I've gone for the R90 shotgun just because it's one of the ones I've leveled up. It's also got Dragon's Breath on it, which is good as well. It's just a very nice weapon to use. So I would recommend using this if you've got it leveled up, but if not, feel free to use another one. It's up to you guys, but you just need to use a shotgun. What attachments have I put on it then? Well, first of all, I've put on the choke muzzle. This increases the damage range and you get a tighter pellet spread, meaning that more damage from the bullets is done within a smaller radius. And it basically means that if you're actually aiming correctly and accurately at the targets, you're going to do more damage to them and kill them quicker. It's a very good attachment. Also for this, I'd put on the Forged Tack Sentry Barrel. That does the same thing, increased damage range and tighter pellet spread again. So those both help to increase the damage range so you can shoot from further distances and decrease the pellet spread so that you're more accurate with your shots and you do more damage. Then on this shotgun, I'd also put the 5mm laser. This increases the hip fire accuracy and the sprint to fire speed, which is obviously what we want for this class. On top of that, I'd put on the fully loaded perk as one of the attachments, obviously, and what this does is it increases the maximum starting ammo so you have more bullets in your weapon and you're less likely to need to reload or run out of ammo, so it helps you to get those kills a little bit quicker. Finally, I'd put on the Dragon's Breath rounds. This does incendiary damage, so basically it does fire damage. These are fire bullets. They're really good in multiplayer and very powerful in Warzone, so I definitely recommend putting this onto your class. And if you guys haven't got these unlocked, feel free to check out my guide. I've done a guide for the Dragon's Breath rounds for the R90 and then the other shotguns as well, so go and check that out if you're interested. Again, I'll have cards for that on screen and a link in the description for how to get those Dragon Breath rounds unlocked. That's why I'd highly recommend this weapon, but you don't have to, obviously. For the secondary, it doesn't really matter too much because we're not focusing on that, so put on whatever you want. We're not going to be using it. And then for the perks, I'd go for double time in perk 1. This doubles the duration of tactical sprint and increases the movement speed by 30%. In the second second perk tier, I'd go for High Alert. This basically means that your vision pulses when enemies outside of your field of view can see you. So basically, if someone's looking at your back or your side and you can't see them, it will show up yellow on the screen, just let you know to turn around so that you can find that enemy and shoot them. But if you didn't want this, you could also put on like Overkill and then put a shield as the secondary just to protect your back, but it's up to you guys. And then finally in the third perk, I'd go for Tracker, which allows you to see enemy footsteps and basically means you can follow them around, know where enemies are, get more kills and get it done quicker so you can leave the match. Moving on to the equipment, we've got the lethal, which I don't really bother with because it's not part of the challenge guide, so we're going to ignore that. And then for the tactical, I'd go for the stun grenade, where you can use this to throw the stun grenade at the enemies to stun them obviously, and this slows their movement. It makes them easier to hit fire at if there's someone a little bit more difficult to kill. So you don't need this, but if there's anyone that's being a little bit slippery or a little bit difficult, you can use this and it should help you out a little bit. Finally, we've got the field upgrade, so I would generally recommend something like Dead Silence because this gives you quiet footsteps and you can run faster towards the enemy. This is really good, especially in multiplayer. If we haven't got any good modes like Shipment, then you have to run a little bit further across the map, so this will help a little bit. And obviously if people are listening out intently for footsteps, if you've got Dead Silence on, that makes them quiet so they can't hear you when you try and sneak up to them. So I'm glad you guys have stuck this far into the video. We're now going to talk about the modes and the strategy, probably one of the most important parts of the video. So for modes, we're first going to focus on multiplayer and then we're going to quickly talk about Warzone as well. Now in multiplayer, there's currently no great game modes, I have to say, unfortunately. There's nothing like Shipment or Shoot House or any playlist like that. So you could try Deathmatch, Domination and Drop Zone, that's all one playlist, but to be honest it can be hectic. So for example in Drop Zone there's juggernauts and stuff that you can get out of the care packages, and it's a bit annoying having all those streaks around because you're a lot more likely to die. So instead I often went for other modes like Free For All, Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed. They're generally sort of decent close quarters combat modes, although you could also go for stuff like Domination and other ones with actual objectives, because that way enemies will be going to certain parts of the map for that objective. Now at the moment they've also got a Season 6 Mosh Pit with the Broadcast and Tank Factory maps, but that playlist is only in Hardcore, so if you're fine with Hardcore then that's also an option as well, although these probably aren't the best maps for getting up and close to enemies. A lot of them have long lines of sight, it's probably not great with a shotgun, so probably would suggest other modes, but feel free to try it out. Now if you're able to put crosshairs, i.e. aiming over someone without actually aiming down sights on a target, then Core would probably be fine. Otherwise I'd recommend Hardcore if you're not as accurate, because Hardcore it's easier to kill the enemies, but the problem is with Hardcore it's also easier for other enemies to kill you. So other enemies will normally have things like assault rifles and submachine guns, and so they'll be able to shoot you from a further distance, whereas you have to get up and close to them. So that's why I'd recommend Core, because you can take a little bit more damage and get a little bit closer to enemies, but if you're less accurate then maybe Hardcore might be better for you. And obviously remember that the shotgun has a fairly high damage, so that's obviously why it doesn't matter too much whether we're in Core or Hardcore, and it's more difficult for other enemies to kill you in Core than it is in Hardcore. Now if you're doing this challenge when the Shoot the Ship playlist or any kind of Shipment or Shoot House or other close quarter combat map playlist is out, or even a face-off mode, for example on those 3v3 small maps, definitely use these if available. It'll be really quick in those kind of modes, but obviously it takes a little bit longer in the other modes at the moment because we haven't got anything like that. What about for Warzone then? Well, I'd recommend Plunder. You have infinite lives, you have an immediate custom loadout, you can keep respawning to where you want, so it's useful. So that'll be the modes. Let's talk about the strategy for multiplayer and Warzone. So my strategy would be to run to an enemy and kill them by hip firing at them. You obviously want to try to go to the most likely areas of the map to find people and kill them, i.e. high flow areas of the map. But if you're in an objective mode, like I said, go to the objective points. There'll often be enemies there as well. On some maps it may be easier to run around the edge of the map, especially if it's like a bigger map or it's a bit more difficult to play on. And remember, you only need 3 hipfire kills with the shotgun and then you can quit the match, so it doesn't take too long. Obviously go about this how you will, but obviously you want to try and avoid those really long lines of sight, because then there might be snipers or assault rifles trying to get you, whereas you need to get up close to them, and that's why flanking around the edge of the map to get to a specific point might be a little bit easier than going through the middle. But obviously it depends on the map and the game mode and so on and so forth. What about Warzone then? Well, in Warzone, like I said, obviously play it in the plunder mode, and you can either hit fire at an enemy to kill them completely, or you can shoot them to down them and then go up to them and hit fire them. So either way works, i.e. it does count if the enemy is downed by shooting them and then you hit fire kill to finish them off. And in my gameplay I had several times where the enemies weren't even downed by me, they were already just down, and I went up to them and just finished them off by hip firing at them, and obviously that counts for the challenge. So you don't have to completely hip fire all of your shots to kill them. The only part of the kill that matters is that final shot that actually kills them, i.e. if the first few shots weren't hip fires or it wasn't even shooting, let's say it was like a grenade or something, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is finish them off with that hip fire. That's the only bit that counts. However, the other thing is you won't obviously know always how much health an enemy has, and so if possible try to always hip fire, so that if you do kill them a little bit earlier than expected, it'll be with that hip fire rather than just by aiming down sight, because then obviously it won't count towards the kill and you need to get another kill. And always remember guys, there's a very cheeky way to get this done if you're struggling, and that's to stay in the plane in plunder until the very end when it kicks you out with all the inactive players. And a lot or most of the players who drop with you will be inactive, but be aware there's normally at least 1 or 2 people that are aware of this strategy, and so they'll pretend to be inactive and then they'll shoot you at the last minute. They'll try and see how many kills they can get. So if you need to, stay in the plane until the end, drop out with the inactive players, and then try to kill them before anyone in there who's not inactive kills you. And if you get that, normally if it works well, you can get 2 to 3 of those kills, so you could potentially get it all done just from that beginning bit and then quit, although normally you only be able to get 1 or 2, so it just depends how lucky you are and how many people drop with you. Now remember, if you don't immediately hit fire at the enemy, so like if you shoot them by aiming down sight first, make sure not to completely kill them, because obviously that's going to stop you from getting the hipfire kill, and also teammates might try and kill them, or enemies might be getting to and killing the downed players before you, so just make sure to use your dead silence and double time perk to run over to the enemy faster to kill them quicker if they're a little bit further away from you. You want to get to them as soon as possible, and also some players will instantly kill themselves to respawn when they're put in that downed position in that sort of last stand mode, so because they want to respawn quickly. So don't mess about. If you haven't hit fired them from the start and you've aimed down sight to start off with, kill them as quickly as possible with that hit fire, because they might kill themselves and then that wouldn't count because you haven't hit fired them. Whereas I believe if you did hit fire them and then they killed themselves, that would count because your hit fire kill was the last bit of damage that killed them before they killed themselves. So it all depends, but you just want to try and hit fire where possible basically. Now like I said, obviously I've got hit fire guide if you guys are struggling with that, so check that out, and I'll be making a best class setup video very soon for the JAK-12 shotgun. It's pretty decent, so when that's done I'll have a card on screen and a link in the description for that best class setup, so make sure you go and check that out if you're interested. I also have some tips in that video on how to use the weapon better, best attachments, and so on and so forth. And if you need to check out any other challenge guides for unlocking DLC weapons, I have lots of them on my channel, so be sure to check them out. I'll have a playlist for that in the description, and again I'll probably have a card for that on screen, just for like the other challenge guides, like how to unlock some of the weapons from previous seasons and so on and so forth. Anyway, cheers for watching, hope you found it useful. Like I said, feel free to check out any of the guides or videos or playlists if you need to, and if you found it useful, be sure to leave a like on the video, it really helps me out, and feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any upcoming Modern Warfare, Warzone, or even Black Ops Cold War videos. Thank you so much for watching, appreciate all the support, and hopefully I'll see you all on the next video.